we have an MP41 Woodstock version. That would have been my preferred stock for the MP series of submachine guns made by the Germans. Much more comfortable, in my opinion, than the folding metal stock of the MP38 or the MP40. Just my mileage, but what do I know? I'm just a, I don't know, YouTuber. M249 and FDE, very cool, surprisingly heavy, kind of a checkered service history from what I know about it. I think the latest generations are doing quite well. Still in service, they have all types of specialized versions. That's a really fun wiki read if you get around to it, the M249. Remington 870DM, reviewed not too long ago. It was an operational, remember that word by the way, in-field review. Shot really well, super smooth, fast. The magazine was absolutely reliable. I couldn't outrun the magazine like I could with the Mossberg. Comfortable, except for that freaking stock I put on the shotgun pistol. It whacks my cheek a lot when shooting buckshot or slugs. Yeah, so try it. You may differ, but it's a specialized niche weapon. I said that in the review. I sure do love it though. The 870 is really smooth, reliable, accurate. You're not going to be recreational shooting that anyhow, so it doesn't really matter if you whack your cheek with it. It's going to be like 2 magazines maybe in operational, no kidding, save your life situations. And do you guys know what this one is on the bottom? Speaking of bunker eye candy. That is correct. It is a 1917 Eddystone in 30-06. I believe I did review this. I believe that GRV is out there. And I believe no one really watched it. Yeah, I don't know what it is. I do these super cool, nostalgic guns, and I don't know, my audience just doesn't watch them that much. I'll still do a couple more. TD and I already filmed one here in the bunker that is pretty epic. Actually 2. You'll see those posts, and I have a couple more to go. No big hurry on them. But yes, it's GRV time, eye candy, cool stuff in the background. And then for this GRV, I'm going to have a fighter aircraft, a pistol, a watch, and a knife. Do you want me to talk about them or just pretend like they're not here sitting right in front of me? Talk about them. We love that stuff. Nice answer. Okay, we'll get to this gun. If you're in a hurry, again, 1 point time speed in YouTube should be your friend. Just rip through it or just drag the bar. The watch is the Panzera Flieger with a nutnfancy hands modification on it. This was a drop in the formerly known as Mass Drop website. I'll put the link below. 99 bucks for an automatic watch, AR coated. I changed the hands to pure white for better legibility, so I programmed this, engraved it. But even as it comes, I think most of y'all would just love it. It's IWC Big Pilot style of watch. It's so cool. Makes me happy. So does this knife right here, coming out of the mountains this summer. Speaking again of an operational test, it's kind of a fighter hacker. Really designed as a tactical knife. It's a folding kukri. Raja 2. I wouldn't say a lot of TMPers have the Raja in all its sizes, but I would say some of y'all do. I hear from you in comments like, yeah, I got my Raja, I'm never selling it. And this thing chops so well, no failures of that lock at all. You know, it's just freaking awesome. Great knife though. I'll put a link to that below too. There you go. And the pistol, going as fast as I can, is the Walther PPQ long slide coated in our workshop in this super dark FDE. It's almost a brown. I think that's Magpul, flat dark earth. I'm pretty sure that's a coloration we used on it. And TD did this coloration. Super cool. And then yes, I did say fighter aircraft. And no, it's not a World War II aircraft. What's this? Aviation enthusiasts of the nutnfancy project. What is this right here? Oh, that is cool looking. Now you can see the country insignia, so that's a dead giveaway. But I bet most of y'all, without opening a window and doing a search, don't know the name of this plane. And by the way, I didn't either till I researched it. Now, the sharp-eyed aviation folks in TMP would say this is an Su-27, Sukhoi. That is a really good guess, and they're very close. But it isn't. This is not a Russian aircraft. It's a Chinese aircraft. Once upon a time, a license-built Su-27. So there was an agreement between Russia and China to produce Su-27. And then finally China said, you know what? We got this. And they just basically stole the plans and made it an indigenous design and did their own upgrades. So I believe this, I forget which version this is, but it's one of their indigenous ones. It has composites on it, upgraded radar, glass cockpit, GSH 30mm cannon, takes a PL-15 missile, some of which you can see on pylon right there. WS-10A turbofan, afterburning turbofan, of course, and wearing that super cool white and pink camouflage, which actually perplexed me for the longest time. I mean, it looks really cool, right? But I'm like, why would you go white and pink? And then I started thinking about it. I was like, all right, aren't the skies of China pink with pollution? I think they are. And maybe that's why they went with this particular coloration. And there are actual photographs of this plane out there. This is looking just like the plane that I believe intercepted some P-3 Orions in neutral territory. And the pilot of that, by the way, the name of it is a Shenyang F-11. I forgot to tell you that. The Shenyang F-11, that pilot came very close to that P-3, I believe almost wrecking into them. It was an international incident. We filed a formal complaint. And China came back and just basically gave us the middle finger. They did. They're like, the pilot was fine. He wasn't doing anything wrong. Yeah, whatever. Politics aside, very cool plane. If it's still available on eBay, I'll put a link down there for y'all. Coming out of the Nut and Fancy Aviation Museum. By the way, this is die-cast, not plastic. On to the rifle at hand. Besides these, good times in the bunker. You gotta have a good time. If it ain't a good time, why even do it? All right, we're gonna review a Remington 700, y'all. That's right, a Remington 700. Going back to the philosophy of how I review, I like operational testing. I've always been that way in TMP. I mean, going back, we're what, year 13, soon 14 in TMP. To me, operational testing is a wide variety of environments, hopefully a wide variety of shooters in environmental conditions and different human factors that makes the testing more accurate. Back in 2013, 2014, and actually going back to 2010 and on, from 2010 to 14, I did review the Remington 700 in a couple variations. I did an SPS review, I did the AAC review. They were mostly positive reviews as I remember. However, operational testing showed them to have some serious weaknesses. Now, if you ask your typical gun buddy, what is the best bolt action rifle in the world, chances are he will say a Remington 700. And by the way, I'm not saying he's right or wrong. I'm just saying that it's well known. It's been out there forever. Right now, there's like 900 SKUs on the Remington website of the 700. It is a well-known gun. It's very proven. It's taken all sorts of game. It's served in the United States military forever under the M24, M40 series, in law enforcement forever. It's one of the most customized action, if not the most customized bolt action in the world. Custom builders love the 700. It's strong, it's easy to work on, all that. Best bolt action gun in the world. I myself, by the way, would have said that years ago. In that time frame, all the way up then, I was just like, yeah, dude, 700 all the way. I grew up with them. I've talked about this in other reviews. I've hunted with them growing up. I've killed the game with 700s. But fast forward to TMP, being a reviewer, seeing what I saw, operationally, not at the range, I kind of lost faith. I did. I was just like, man, these things are not reliable. We had all types of feeding issues with them, extraction issues with not just one, but as I recall, like 2 or 3 700s. And I brought that to tabletop. I talked about it and, I lost confidence in it. And I just kind of sidetracked it and put it on the back burner. I was like, I don't know what's going on at Remington, but these guns have some issues. And I did talk about the specifics and my best guess of why they were doing what they did. Okay, so fast forward to now. I didn't say I took them off the stove. I said I put them on the back burner. That means I'm going to go back to them. Remington's had all types of turmoil in their company. They've been bought by several entities. Freedom Group, I believe, owned them at one time. And I do believe, just like in like an NFL team, from the owner to the general manager to the coach, if there's dysfunction, that trickles down into the workshop floor. And people, I think, just don't care. They don't know if they're going to have a job, 2 months from now, and maybe they're not doing the machining procedures correctly. And I suspect, I don't know, that the guns I had in that time frame that I mentioned probably were produced during that time. That the people on the floor probably just go, whatever, just turn it out. And I'm hoping, and from what I'm seeing in this gun, that they've turned a corner, and now the 700 is upholding what I think is a legacy reputation. It's a legacy reputation. In other words, it goes back many years, people know about it, and it's really entrenched. Sometimes those legacy reputations are warranted, and sometimes they're not, with the introduction of new competitive options, which I will mention in this bunker review. So, back burner, I'm thinking about, I'm like, I wonder how 700s are doing. I've been doing that for like 5 years. How are 700s doing? I got so much flow, so much content flow here in TMP. It wasn't, a burning priority. Lo and behold, though, this year I was like, let's go revisit the 700. Went to the website, spent like 20 minutes researching 900 SKUs, and this is the one I picked for review. Testing and review, dudes. Multiple outings complete. Welcome to the nutnfancy bunker review of the Remington 700 Magpul enhanced in 6.5 Creedmoor. Thank you. A favorite caliber of mine. Favorite? You hardly review 6.5 nutnfancy. That's a true statement. You're right. You're right, dude. Is that the same guy who told me to move my fat head out of frame? Probably. You're right, though. I rarely do because it's so expensive for me to shoot. That's why. Not because I don't love the cartridge, but for me to go out and send 500 rounds down a bolt action or an AR-10, it's a lot of money. And when I'm cranking, rocking, and rolling, I'm putting $2,000 a month out in ammunition costs. I'm not sponsored at all now. I buy all my own ammunition, and that is what it is. So if I'm looking at a 308 versus 6.5, usually I go with 308. But this time I just manned up. Thanks to TMP Patreon for paying those costs. The only reason I'm still making videos, honestly. Yeah, seriously, join TMP Patreon. And this is my recommended tactical version of the Remington 700. Again, there's all types of variations in barrel lengths, finishes, calibers, stocks, bottom metal, which isn't really metal, but magazine feeding systems, different pick rails, maybe no pick rail at all. Dude, the sky's the limit, but I think most y'all, being of a tactical nature, would love this variation, especially in this very cool coloration. Remington 700 Magpul Enhanced is what this one is called. Retails for like $12.50. Streets for a lot less, and I would like to spend a moment, thank you very much, for thanking Gunny's, the great American gun store, Orem, Utah, for the loaner, or perhaps for the purchase, because I may buy this. I'll tell you at the end. I'll tell you. Gunny's a great American gun store. The reason I can go in and look at a wide variety of Remington 700s after doing my online research and making the final push to take it out in the desert and shoot it operationally. Now remember what I said about those other 700s. At the range, they did pretty good. And then a little thing called, as you may know, TMPers, the curse of the desert came out and had something to say on those ridges, on those dark nights in the desert, and they just started having problems. And I've seen that over and over again. At the range, they do pretty good, and then in the desert, I don't know what it is, the cold, the heat, the dust, they just, I don't know. It's like if it can survive the curse of the desert, thumbs up, dudes. All right, so a little bit on philosophy of use, a lot on features, how did it shoot, and then would I buy it is what we're going to talk about for the rest of the review, as the background eye candy helps carry the load for the entertainment of the bunker. All right, so my recommended version right here, you can get whichever one you want. Targets falling on the ground as usual. And yes, I have a lot of paper with this gun. This one has a 20-inch barrel. Again, the Remington 700, 6.5 Creedmoor. A lot of people would say that's the perfect barrel length. I say it's good. I'm not going to say 20 inches is a bad barrel length at all. Good accuracy, good velocity, good ballistic performance. It's threaded, 5/8 inch threading. I didn't run a can on it for testing. Don't know why, I should have, but I didn't. LTR style of fluting. This sucker has 5R rifling, Talking about Remington getting its game together. You might see it on the side of the barrel there. It says 5R. You're in shadow from the light in the camera, but anyways, 5R barrel. Awesome. Awesome. And you know what I always say? When we look at accuracy, what did I say? It's about the barrel, right? The action in a bolt action rifle for sure, but it's mostly, in my way of thinking, in my experience here in TMP, the barrel quality. If you got a good barrel, it's going to shoot. It will. Back to the barrel length though, 20 inches. It's a good overall barrel length, especially if you decide to put a suppressor on it. Nice. The gun is not ultimately light. It's 8 pounds, 10 ounces. And so to me, I'm talking about with a stock, not with a scope, but with a mag in it, 810. To me, an extra 2 inches of barrel length is not that big of a deal. Unless you're running a suppressor, a can on the end of it, then it's more overall length. In a 308, what do you get? Like 70 feet more per second out of each barrel length. A lot of people, and people a lot smarter than me in long range shooting for sure, they've kind of moved away from the longer barrel unless they're doing like ultra competitions. And they like, I don't know, 20. For me, from what I know and my own preferences, I would have preferred a 22 because again, it's not super lightweight as it is, even though we have a little bit of fluting here. But this was a varmint profile before they milled it. Fully free floated, of course. Barrel is, I believe, black Cerakoted in this variation. I could be wrong. I think it is black Cerakote. It is. That is a good choice. Contrasting nicely against a very excellent stock. Oh my goodness. And of course, it's called after the stock. It's called the Magpul Enhanced. And this is a Magpul Hunter stock. And let me tell you guys, I'm going to put a link below. If you have a 700, I would seriously recommend, if you don't mind adding a few ounces to your loadout, getting this stock. It is one of the best, if not the best, Remington 700 stock I've ever shot off of. Fantastic. So we have kind of a beaver tail front end on it. We have some M-lock slots for, your bipods, if you want to throw them in. On the sides as well for lasers and lights. Perfect coloration. It's OD. Perfect traction. Has that minor stippling on it. But it's not rubberized, so I like that. Rubberized, I don't like because it just grabs clothing. I've moved off those Hogue stocks. I don't like them. And the AAC I reviewed in the day, I've since sold it, I believe, to a TMPer. It wore one of those Hogue stocks. Not an awful stock, really comfortable, but I don't like the grabbiness of it. Full pistol grip with a Hunter stock. Perfect cheek piece. We can change that out. We have spacers that come with it. Really nice butt pad. This is also spaceable. And right now, I believe all the way out to 13 inches length of pull with your Magpul Hunter stock on this variation of the 700, or if you buy it separately. And I also think it does come with a bipod, the Magpul Enhanced. The reason I'm not too sure is because when I loaned it off of Gunnies, I just take the gun and the magazine. I don't take the box or anything else I'll lose. I do think it comes with a bipod, which is cool. The stock is just perfection. You have a tie-in point for a sling, of course. Full pistol grip. I love the pistol grip. I just adore this stock. 2 tie-in points on each side for the chassis. And the receiver metal. It's just a perfect stock. I love, love, love it. The action we've seen many times. There's no big news here. We have a nice extended bolt knob. You won't have to go out and pay a customizer to get an extended bolt knob. That's pretty standard in the world of tactical bolt actions. They finally got the clue, bird. Hey, our users want, a longer bolt knob, and they finally did it. Remington came to the game. Now that 700 Police that I reviewed and 300 Winchester Magnum, it's that camouflage one. It's got like the multicam camo paint on it. I did a bolt conversion on that. So if you want to, you can go check that video out. It's ancient, but you'll see the variation, and it's got a big old knob on it. But this one is perfect. It clears the scope bell perfectly. Look at that. The action is smooth. 3 rings of steel, as Remington says. It is a very strong action. We'll talk about reliability, how it's shot, because that drives to ejection and positiveness of the process. Here's the bolt. Doesn't look any different than other 700 bolts. Really not much to say here, except in how it's shot. which again, we'll get to in just a second here. Blackened bolt, I really like that. It's perfect. The trigger, as it pulls, is about 4.2 pounds in this variation. You can lighten it up all the way to 3.5 pounds. Yep. And I like the trigger. I really do. What do they call it? The X-Mark Pro trigger. You might remember back in 2010, all the trigger controversy on the Remington. They weathered it, came out with this X-Mark Pro. It basically did away with all those criticisms. Big old paddle release on the magazine right here. I love that. Better than some of the other rifles I've been shooting lately that are really hard to eject. AI pattern magazine, polymer. This is a Magpul variety. Single stacking. Really nice magazine. Common pattern. Lightweight, doesn't add a lot to the loadout. Here's a look at the bottom plastic, not bottom metal. This torquing will be very critical to accuracy. These two right here, there's the back one right there. Hard for me to hold my shoulder. There you go, this one. Really no big news here. It's a standard 700, except for this. Let me back up a little bit. Not totally standard, because going back to those ones that had operational difficulties, most of it stemmed from right here. The internal box magazine, believe it or not, was a problem. And then we tried some magazine-fed 700s, which were also problematic. So I don't mean to discount this. I said it's standard, but this is the most critical portion of a box magazine-fed bolt-action rifle. If the angles are wrong, if the feeding height is wrong, you're going to have problems. We'll see here in just a second how it's shot. Pick rail on this one, I believe has like 15 MOA built in. I do not have this actually super high quality, high value scope mounted low enough. I should have lower rings on it. This is a Night Force mount, also with MOA built into it. So I have like a lot of long range MOA with this, but it's what I had available. It was already mounted on the rings. I didn't want to spend the time, so I just ended up with this. If I were to keep this rifle though, I would bring this glass down another 1/2 inch so that optics belt is sitting right off the top. I've always talked about this. I'm a real stickler for it, but for testing and review, I give it a pass. And this is a Pro Staff 7, in case you're wondering. Non-illuminated, link below. I recommend it highly. If you need an illuminated scope, like if you ever anticipate doing some Soldier Boy shooting, by all means go illuminated. But it works. It doesn't fog up. It's been a test and review scope for so long. Standard safety. I love the safety on the 700s. It's the same one we saw in the Howa. It's just simple, very intuitive. I much prefer it over the Mauser safety, as I've talked about. You can cycle the action with the safety on. No big deal. I just love it. And then you can tell when the action is cocked looking at the end of the bolt right here. That's basically feature. Super down and dirty. How did it shoot? The Magpul enhanced in the 6.5 Creedmoor. By the way, also available in 308 and 300 Winchester Magnum. This variation, all that subject to change. I will tell you, when I took this out, doing the operational shooting, I was a little bit trepidatious. I was like, oh my gosh, I hope this thing cycles well. Again, going back to our nightmarish experiences of 2010 to, I don't know, 2013. I am happy to report that it was flawless. Flawless. Not in 500 rounds. I wasn't able to do that many rounds. I did about probably just like 225 rounds is all. That's all I had time for, and honestly, that's all I wanted to spend on the review. Here's some of the loads I shot out of it. Hornady, Fusion, American Eagle, wide variety of 6.5 Creed loads. And as you can tell, this is actually a pretty good price at Gunny's. It's 28 bucks a box. This is what I'm talking about cost-wise. What's this Hornady a box? $35 a box. So yeah, the costs add up really quickly. Now, some of you guys will reload 6.5 Creed. Thumbs up from me to you. I think that's awesome. I love the ballistic performance of 6.5 Creed. I have a whole video about it where I talk about 300 Winchester versus 6.5 Creed. And I really throw in heavy on that video philosophically behind 6.5 Creed. You can shoot it at weird angles and not bust up your shoulder. Really lower nice, recoil, lower blast, super ballistic efficiency. Good to see. And I think even as a tactical cartridge, even as a hunting cartridge, if you shoot the right load, thumbs up. It'll get done what you need to get done. I love 6.5 Creed, good out to 1,000 yards. I would have liked to have shot this out to 1,000 yards, but being a solo man crew, when I ran it through testing, that's hard to do. It's basically one day. If I do a 1,000-yard shot, it's one gun, it's driving back and forth, checking, and then it's really hard if you miss and know how to correct. So you might go through, I don't know, 40 rounds of wasting ammunition. Blah, blah, blah. This is how it's shot. First up, reliability, like I said, 100%. I thought the ejection, the extraction was perfect. Maybe they finally fixed that extractor. Really nice. I talked about it in past reviews. And I replaced the extractors in past 700s with a nominal improvement in performance. That is a very important part of a factory-produced bolt-action rifle. Get the extraction correct. Slow, fast, doesn't matter. It should be positive and sure. I'm happy to report, in general terms, this 700, shooting good. Thumbs up, and that helped restore my faith. Remington. So did this, by the way. So did this. Here's some of my notes. I always do that. So this is operational. Desert, 100 yards, operational. Sunscreen problems. What am I saying with that? Sunscreen problems. Oh, that's right. I had put sunscreen on my forehead, so it's like I was sweating. It was like really hot out, and it was like dripping down on my eyes. Human factors. It's what I said, operationally. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Real life stuff. Testing a gun, not at the same plot of land, I don't know, wherever you go to shoot or a range. It's just operational stuff. Amazing accuracy, no break-in. I did say stiff trigger. I'm glad I wrote that because I'd forgotten that. So maybe I do need to adjust that X Mark Pro trigger. But still, look at the accuracy. Dude, this is off a polymer table in the freaking desert. This is sub-MOA, up arrow, exclamation point. Fantastic, 120 grain open tip match, all of these. Awesome. Open up a little bit, not bad. That's a side-in, SI. What? All right, let's stop there just for a second because I didn't talk about philosophy of use. One thing I want to hit about with this gun and philosophy of use, shoulder doing okay, is this. Maybe you don't want to waste your money on a custom rifle in 6.5 Creed. Did you hear me? Maybe you don't. You could go out and buy this and you'll have custom rifle accuracy. Will you have the second cool? No, it's a factory produced rifle. But I've gone over the features and they're pretty squared away. I wouldn't change anything about this rifle other than adjusting the trigger and getting that right. What else would I do? Put a can on it? Maybe. Lower the scope, but that's very minor, very temporary. The stock is absolute perfection for me. I love it. It's not too heavy, so it doesn't have all the adjustment garbage that like a Ruger American does. You know, it's just, there's no unnecessary metal on it, is the bottom line. That's a philosophy of use. Oh, and by the way, I know of what I talk because here is my Bartline barreled custom Vanguard in the same caliber, 6.5 Creed. Yeah, ask me how much I spent on this rifle getting it done. A lot. So that's a great barrel. The Bartline product is fantastic. I'm going to do a separate tabletop on this, and I'll ask the same question. Is it worth it? Okay, and this gun will shoot almost or about as good as what I'm showing you. Yep, 6.5 Creedmoor. It has a Legacy Sports magazine conversion. It's just wearing a kind of a lower quality scope right now. Just what I had on it. And like 10 years ago, this isn't Cerakote, this is Duracoated, and I just didn't want to swap it out. But was this worth it putting it together? I had to go get a completely different stock. That cost me money. I had to get a magazine conversion. That cost me money. I had to get the barrel done. I didn't do the installation. All that cost me money and time. Worth it? Oh, and by the way, that's the barrel length I prefer right there. See? So I'm talking about. That's a 22, I believe. Maybe you're better off just getting this one. Remington 700 Magpul enhanced or something like it. You'll save money and you'll save time and you're going to shoot just as good. Let's go back to the paper. I like that. Little detour for POU. Boom. Here we go. More paper in this feature-length precision bolt-action rifle review. Look at that. Holy cow, that's awesome. 4 shots. 4 shots right there. Well under MOA. Now, they're persnickety types. I'm talking accuracy types. If it's not one hole, if they're not all touching, they're just going to say, that sucks. Honestly, I don't know if I'm that good out in the desert from what I'm shooting off of. and my own human factors to deliver the same hole. Even if you gave me a platform that could do it. I think myself, if I'm having a really good day, you're looking at it. You're looking at 1/3 of an inch, 1/2 inch groups. And to me, operationally, I am ecstatic with that performance. Absolutely ecstatic. I don't need any more. I'm totally happy with it. You know, I'm not competing with this rifle, and if I was, and I'm, you know, going by ultra points, perhaps. But then I pushed it out to a longer range. So let me show you one under 100-yard target. Here we go. I opened it up on that one. Gave myself a down arrow. That one's not too bad. That's AMAX 140 right here. And I gave myself a squiggly mark because I didn't think that was that great. That one right here. And the longer range I'm talking about is 410 yards. Here we go. So this is 410, 6.5 Creedmoor, Remington 700, regaining my confidence. Look at that. Now this one came off the paper, so I marked it. And this is what the group looked like. Had a target above it. Yep, and then here we go. Dude, this 3-round group is 410 yards. Phenomenal. Out of this, let's go back to that barrel. What do I always say? It's barrel quality. So for this gun, 5R rifled, LTR fluted, 20-inch heavy profile barrel on this variation of 700. From what I'm seeing, a sample of one, it's squared away. Maybe Remington is back on the horse. This is the type of accuracy from the Remington products that I grew up with, that I grew to love. And I think as the management experienced problems, as the company experienced problems, like I mentioned, the quality control dipped. What I'm hoping is this gun is indicative of what is going on at Remington right now. That, you know what, they regathered, they kind of put all that nonsense, that distraction aside, and they concentrated on building a top quality product, a top quality bolt action rifle that upholds that legacy tradition of excellence. And from what I'm seeing, they've done it. I love the magazine. It operated perfectly, easy to extract, easy to put in, easy to have extras, a quick reload for a bolt action rifle. Awesome. Would I buy it? No questions. I would totally buy this rifle. I might. I'm thinking about it. I'm like, do I need that as a cast member? Really good competitive option. Not the only bolt action rifle I brought to bunker or tabletop that I've loved. Another one would be this one. The Mossberg MVP. Y'all remember that one? This one is in 308. Fantastic high value bolt action rifle. I love this gun. Love it. Go watch that review. It's going to be less money than this Remington. Speaking of competitive options, I just have a recoil cup on it. I think that is from Kinetic right there. Yeah, I like that, by the way. It's cool. This usually runs a can on it. It's zeroed for a can. It's about the same weight, a little bit lighter, I think. And this is actually not a polymer stock. It's a wood stock that is just covered. 8 pounds, 10 ounces. So it's actually 2 ounces lighter than the Remington. The Remington's 812. This one's 810. So I told you wrong. 812 for the Remington. Now, the hokiness of this cheek rest is kind of a problem on the stock. I've just dealt with it because I just leave it in the retracted position. I love the Accu style trigger of the Mossberg. Just a competitive offering. And don't forget my philosophy video out in the field, and I've done it in another form as well, talking about would I choose a sapper over a bolt action rifle. Sapper being a precision semi-automatic rifle. I'm seeing if I have any in the bunker here. I don't, but I have some paper. There's a Palmetto PA-10, y'all. 150 grain FMJ. That is not even a special load, and it's shooting almost MOA on that from an AR-10. To answer the question, I will almost always go with an AR-10. It's going to be about the same weight, rapid follow-up shots. I don't anticipate shooting beyond 700 yards. A gas gun will reach out that far. Here's the SIG 716 Generation 2. Look at that, dudes. That's also FMJ. Standard ammunition, non-matched, not 168, nothing special. Holy cow. Great guns. I'm lucky to be able to review these guns. They're awesome. Other competitive options that I've talked about. I love this Remington product. Like I said, I think it has come back, but don't forget about the Howa. Fantastic in all its variations. I don't know if they have one just like this, same weight. The Tikka Tactical, awesome. I reviewed that. I love that one. It seemed to me the magazine was reduced in capacity, going off memory. The Hawkeye Rugers, I'm not a big Ruger bolt action fan. I don't like the the Mauser style action. You know, I had one, I reviewed it in the day, I pitched it, it's gone. But you guys may have it and you may love it. The Savage 10, 110 rifles, fantastic for the money. I love them. I did a 338 Lapua review in those one day. Thompson Center's putting together a great bolt action rifle. They really are. Don't know if it's in this particular flavor. They do have some very heavy chassis rifles that are way too heavy for me. But as far as their barrel quality goes, as far as their accuracy goes, at least in days past has been pretty good. I say in days past because their MSR rifles, both the 10s and the 15s, those barrels, and there's like the AR-15 variation, AR-10 variations, they weren't that great when I tested them, and I don't know if they're dipping too, if they're having a quality dip, but from what I've seen on their bolt action rifles, pretty awesome. I did mention the Hawkeye, but I forgot to mention the Ruger American SKU number 26983. It is kind of analogous to this Remington 700, because it also has a 20-inch barrel, 0.85 inches in diameter, comes in 6.5 Creed 308. It has a marksman trigger, is what Ruger says. The bolt knob is okay, but it's even heavier than this one at 9.2 pounds naked, the Ruger American 26983. I did review a Ruger American. It shot pretty good from what I remember, but not amazingly. I was a little bit disappointed, and it was very heavy. Kind of a bench rest rifle for me. This to me is a great team rifle, a great competition rifle. I don't know if I'd use it hunting, going back to POU. It's just a little bit too heavy. A great fun rifle, and maybe WROL if you need that. If you need that capability, I've always downplayed that, but maybe you need it, have it. It's not that expensive, and over a custom rifle, you're gonna save big bucks. And in the end, you're gonna shoot about as good. Maybe even better, because I've talked to some guys that have rebarreled their guns and they've shot them and they go, oh my gosh, it doesn't shoot like that. And again, this is not from the bench. It's not from concrete. That's off a polymer table in the windy desert with apparently sunscreen dripping into my eyeballs. I gotta wrap it up. I'm glad from this one example that Remington is putting together a good gun. It seems that way. Over the years, during that long span of time, when I was not reviewing any 700s, I did meet some of you guys at the range when I would bounce there occasionally to do some accuracy work. And you guys would have a 700, and you were like, I love this gun. And I was just like, I don't know. I used to love 700s, but lately they've been letting me down. And I didn't say much, you know. I just left it on the back burner. 700, now it's on the front burner. All testing and review complete. So in summary, this Remington 700 Magpul enhanced and 6.5 Creedmoor at least is a half MOA shooter. Half MOA. Box rifle. Not custom. Saves you a lot of time and money over a custom rifle. Hey, if you want to go that route, second cool, rock on. You're going to see comments below of guys who did just that, and they will lament the fact that they did that. They'll say, yeah, I should have just bought a rifle like that. Not just Remington, the Tikas, the Howas, they're also pretty outstanding. Yeah, it's a win. I don't think it's too heavy for what it is. I can live with a 20-inch tube. I love that it's threaded, pick rails included. In fact, every tactical thing that I would want on a bolt-action rifle that I would add via the aftermarket is on this gun. The Magpul Hunter stock, perfect. Trigger, I said it pulled a little bit stiff, but you can adjust that down. I wouldn't change the trigger. Great mag paddle, great magazine system. The AICS is perfect. Really is. Good job, Remington. So glad you're back in the game. So fun to come back to the 700 after a long absence in the Nut and Fancy project. And I will end with another side shuffle so you can check out those guns in the back wall. We are at the end of this GRV, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell, join TMP Patreon. Thank you so much for supporting me after all these years. We have a great time. I hope my product, my video product, helps you, helps your systems. You guys are my friends. I never take you for granted. Thank you so much. Signing off, Lieutenant Colonel Nut and Fancy, over and out.